What's up, you guys? So as you can see, I kind of did my hair and I have like a bow and acne, whatever. So, um, if you haven't noticed, a lot of my videos are kind of like, parroting nomad capitalists and a lot of like the expat kind of traveler, tax consultant types. And it's just because it's, what it's what I care about. It's what I'm like very focused on lately. It's all I think about is just where to make the most money, how to do it, and I'm just studying mostly right now while being in a different country. And one thing I noticed is like the wealthiest countries in the world got there because of like lower regulations, because they had fewer taxes, fewer regulations. And it's not an accident that, the wealthiest people in the world are also like capitalists. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a coincidence that this kind of mindset of wanting freedom, wanting, just to mind your own business and do your own thing, build your own business, be self-sufficient. That kind of mindset also translates into wealth, and it also translates into wealth at a larger level, like at a nation level. And it's funny because like we're in a country that's kind of poor, and they're trying to keep up with their inflation, and they're having issues. They're having a lot of economical downturn. Of course, the Colombian peso is like 5-1 now compared to the dollar, which is insane. Because like, considering literally just a few months ago when we got here, it was less than 4 Colombian pesos to the US dollar. So it's like zooming up, which means that their currency is dropping while the US dollar goes up. And so these are kind of like results. It's not like, it doesn't happen right away where like a country raises their taxes and all of a sudden their currency fails and everyone is poor and like productivity drops. It's something that happens over like a period of time, gradually. But we're definitely seeing it here and in a lot of countries that are really poor, like in Italy. Italy's another place where I've been like looking into it a lot, because I'm looking at, places that I would want to invest in the future. And it's a lot of these like post-Soviet countries, but also countries like Italy and like here in Colombia, where it's not necessarily post-Soviet, but very, very high regulations on everything. Everything is like, you can't do construction without a licensed blah 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 blah, and the person has to be licensed in a specific way, and they have to be paid a lot of money, and like, because there's only going to be like 3 of them in the country. And so all these things that decrease productivity, decrease building, and decrease infrastructure, but also like cause the barrier to entry to be really high. So like, it's not only that you can only use that guy, but it's now that like, all right, there's only going to be like a few businesses in the country that'll be able to afford to like find that guy and hire that guy and do that thing. And so basically what it does is it basically creates this exclusivity that only a few people can be rich. And, it creates like an aristocracy. It creates a wealth class, which is just a few people are able to keep up with these crazy restrictions and crazy taxes. Of course, Colombia's tax rate is 35%, which is crazy. That's like their corporate tax rate. And so like, how many businesses can keep up with that and become like a big booming business fast enough to keep up with it with those kind of restrictions and barriers and taxes? Not a lot. So basically what ends up happening is there ends up being like a wealth class and a lower class. The wealth class being very, very small minority of the country. And the funny thing is that whenever it's like that, that causes people to be more poor-minded. Like, that causes more communist thinking, because when people see this bigger gap between the wealthy and the poor, and they see like, oh, there's only a little bit of wealthy people and we're all poor, that usually causes them to want to raise more taxes and regulations on the big guy because they're trying to get the big guy. And right now, a lot of people are kind of they're associating the big guy with the Jews. So that's why there's a lot of anti-Semitism, because they're like, oh, the big guy, the Jews. And so basically whoever's like at the top in that like little gap, that little tiny group of people that was somehow able to overcome those barriers, those are always going to be the most hated person. Does not necessarily the Jews or the Mormons or the whatevers, but it's always going to be that little group. And so the way I see it, like, when a country starts lowering those barriers, that's a really good sign. Like Italy. I mean, I'm really focused on Italy lately because Italy, they just elected a conservative prime minister. And I don't know, I don't care about the other social stuff or whatever, but this lady is like implementing a $100,000 flat tax, just like, kind of similar to what Switzerland has going. And their whole idea is that because of all their crazy regulations, and Italy has crazy regulations, like with everything, any kind of business that you want to do in Italy, it's near impossible with like a small man's budget. So because of like how impossible it is to move around in that country, the price of everything is very cheap. Their economy is just kind of like shit. A lot of their villages and small towns have been abandoned, and people don't want to reproduce. They don't want to have kids because of this whole economical thing. It always follows the economics of a country where it becomes impossible to survive, so people don't want to have kids, they don't want to reproduce, and they might not even want to be with, in a hetero relationship anymore. They might want to just be alone. So anyway, like, Italy's trying to change things, and so they're like slowly like, okay, we're gonna take away taxes, we're gonna give tax breaks, we're gonna make it like a flat tax, and they're trying to attract wealthy people. Kind of too little too late, but you see the trajectory that country is going in, and it makes you optimistic about, okay, well, maybe in the future, in like several generations, whatever, like that country is going in a good direction. So if you buy real estate there, if you like start building businesses there, stuff like that, it's going to go in a positive direction. Countries where it's going in a negative direction, like where they've enjoyed prosperity and freedom for a long time, but it's going in a negative direction, definitely the United States. Like, definitely a lot of like the, countries that have in the past been like free countries, like, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, like, yeah, we're enjoying wealth and prosperity, or like the US dollar doing well, because of this history of freedom relative to other countries. This country has attracted the smart people. By this country, I mean the United States, has attracted smart people, has attracted like people that wanted to build businesses, build infrastructure, build whatever. And little by little, it really, really looks like they're trying to squash that. They're making it impossible. And you're definitely seeing a brain drain. And I'm not talking about me. I'm not saying that I'm so smart. But I'm talking about a lot of very, very smart, capable, and wealthy people, like, leaving the United States. And maybe they're not able to leave with their money because the United States is putting increasingly higher taxes on fees on anybody that tries to leave and renounce their citizenship, which tells you something. It tells you that a lot of people are trying to do it. But it's basically a drain of people that are able to build and be innovative. Those people are leaving, and the more that happens, and the more, the government they still need to make their taxes. So basically what happens, the people after that get taxed, and the harder things become, the harder things get, the bigger the barriers to entry become, the bigger you're going to see a wealth gap in the United States. If you're not already seeing it in your town or your city, you're going to keep seeing it even more. And so what you're going to see is like a really, really, really wealthy class, like the people that are already able to do things, all able to keep up with all the crazy shit, the regulations and stuff that's happening. Probably a lot of Jews going to be all the way at the top. And then, I'm just saying Jews because that's like a big topic in the United States. People are mad at Jews for being rich, right? And then you're going to see like, most people are not going to be able to keep up these things. And then it's going to create this resentment. Oh my God, I'm struggling, which is what I would felt too, so I'm not blaming you. So there's going to be more and more people trying to vote for harder, stricter, stronger regulations, policies, tyranny. There's going to be more and more and more and more of that. It's going to make it worse and worse and worse and worse. And eventually what you're going to have is like just eventually people are going to be fleeing the country. And this is just my opinion, so you don't have to take everything I say seriously, and this might happen over like a period of like I don't know how many years, but this is happening. Like you're seeing it already. You're seeing it in front of your eyes. This isn't like some kind of crazy like prediction hoogie boogie, like, you know, it's a thing that's happening. And I mean, I think that if you're on any side of the equation, it's not going to be fun. If you're like the person all the way at the top that is being targeted, the wealthy class, it's not going to be fun for you. If you're the poor class that's struggling, it's not going to be poor for you. And if you're anywhere in the middle, like, forget about you. You know what I mean? So I really think that if you're thinking about like where to live, it's really important to think about not where the dollar, the currency is strongest, because like, I mean, the currency here in Colombia is shit. But you want to think about the trajectory of where that place is going. Maybe, like in Italy, things have been shit because of shitty policies and shitty people just don't understand money and the economy. And so maybe it was like that before, but the trajectory of the way that the country is going is in a good direction, in a direction where and you should always focus on where there's more freedom. Stop caring about social issues. Stop caring about like, you know, oh no, they have a law, you know, and social issues might be part of it, because usually when there's a lot of, if the government has so much control over certain parts of your body and stuff like that, it means they're probably going to have control over other things. But the focus should be the government control in general and the trajectory that it's going. So you generally want to try to look for places where they're trying to provide incentives to bring people in, not necessarily in places where, and I'm talking about in terms of living. I'm not necessarily, you know, living, planting seeds, forming businesses, stuff like that. But I'm not saying you should like just drop everything you have in your home country. Like, I don't know if you should like renounce your citizenship. Like, I don't know if I would do that. Maybe I would though. Who knows? A lot of people are doing it. It's not so crazy, but I still would want to see my family and stuff. So, you know, and I still would want to keep things going, operate business the way it is. Texas is good compared to the rest of the country. So maybe, who knows, maybe Texas will be like just this, you know, haven of libertarian ideas and businesses. I mean, right now, Texas, actually, what I'm noticing is in Texas, there's so many businesses moving there and not enough labor to keep up with it, because like there's just so many jobs and they're paying so much, because in Texas, like, you know, there's no state corporate tax, state income tax, all these things. Plus, like, it's just a very growing economy. And because a lot of people from like the lefty states are like a lot of the business people, the smart people are fleeing to Texas. So you're basically having a brain drain from other states to Texas. So it could be that Texas might actually keep going. I've seen and heard a lot of people say that Texas is recession proof. So Texas the only problem with Texas is that it's still part of the US and it's still subject to federal laws. So if the federal government really clamps down, like, Texas is also bye-bye, you know? But we'll see. Texas might secede and, you know, you might have one of those kind of things going on. Who knows? So, but in general, like, if it's not the kind of place where freedom exists, there's going to be a lot of other problems too. There's going to be hate, there's going to be like bigotry, there's going to be political problem, like all these things that people care about that are really not important. Those problems will still exist whenever there's like a place with bad economic laws. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.